Hello, Stampers. How are you today? I am so glad you joined me. I'm going to make this lovely fun fold card for you. And see, I've got a little decoration on the envelope. And let me show you this. It's called the Freestanding Fun Fold card, and it's in the horizontal direction. So look at that. Isn't that fun? Wouldn't you call that a fun fold? And look at that, it stands up. So your recipient can put it on their mantle or on their kitchen counter, on their desk, to remember how much you love them and when you send them this card. My name is Linda Edwards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I am going to show you how to make this card. We're going to use the Hello Harvest stamp set and the dies. The dies are called the Rustic Pumpkin dies. There are 11 dies in this set. I'm going to show you how to color this pumpkin. We're going to use Stampin Blends for that. I've got Daffodil Delight, Light Mossy Meadow, and Dark Pumpkin Pie. So those are our blends that we're going to use. We'll actually use light and dark of some of those. And then we've got Mary Merlot, Crushed Curry. This is also Daffodil Delight. We've got this fun designer series paper. I'm going to use the Stamparatus. We've got an embossing folder. I've got it all for you today. Lots and lots of things in this card, but it comes together fairly easily. So I hope that you will stick around to see how exactly to put it together. If you are not already a subscriber and you want to see all of the videos that I do for you, please hit that subscribe button. Find me on YouTube if you're coming in from Facebook, and join us, because I like to put together some videos and I like to have all the information for you, so it makes it easy for you to make these fun cards. And if you don't have this particular stamp set or designer series paper, you can always make it your own by changing things up with different colors and different accents. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to put that aside. And these are all the materials that you're going to need for to make this card. We actually did this in one of my card classes. And so my card class folks attendees get everything in an envelope. They get a little packet. And so this is what we're going to need. We're going to start from the back. If you don't have if you want to, go ahead and take a little screenshot, take a picture of all of the measurements. I will also have this information down below in the description, whether you're finding me on Facebook or on YouTube. So you don't have to rush to copy it all down. So we're going to start with, this is Cajun Craze, and it's cut at 11 inches by 4 1/4, and then it is scored at 2, 3 3/4, 7 1/4, and 9. All the way across. So basically it's 2, 3 3/4, and you can turn it and do again 2 and 3 3/4. So whichever way you wanna do that. So that's the base. Actually, that's one of the movement pieces. That's not actually the base. The base is this 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 piece of cardstock, and it's also Cajun Craze. And then I also have a piece that's 4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. Again, Cajun Craze. So those are all the layers. And then I have, now this is, I've already done a little bit of stamping on this. This is a piece for die cutting. This is the 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 piece. And I've already stamped those because we're going to be using the blends, and I'm using, of course, the Memento Black ink, and I want to make sure it's good and dry. So if you're getting a card kit, I always kind of snip a little corner off for the pieces that are going to be stamped and die cut. So you know that this is separate. This is not actually going to go on the card itself. This is used for stamping and die cutting. And then you also have 2 pieces of white. One is 4 by 3 1/4, and the other is 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. So this is a little tricky. Make sure you get the correct sizes in the right spot. This one is I've already embossed it, and I'm using the gingham embossing folder, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint on lining that up. That piece is going to layer with this piece of Cajun Craze. So that's how you'll make sure that you know, if you cut them, oh yeah, that one doesn't fit, right? It layers on there. This one will be for the inside. And then you'll need a scrap of Mossy Meadow for die cutting, and this is the reverse side of all of these. And then you'll need the designer series paper. So what I did was cut 2 at 4 3/4, and you can see that these actually go together. So I cut them, no, excuse me, these are the 2 by 4 3/4, and they don't have to go together. This is the really, oh shoot, what's the name of that? It's really a fun metallic and shimmer, and it comes in this orange and Cajun Craze, and it also comes in a black and silver and a green and gold. Really pretty paper. And that was, I would just really see how it shimmers. Yeah, you can see that. So those are 2 at 4 by 3 3/4. Those come in 6 by 6 sheets. Now these are 2 that are 4 by 1 1/2. And so what you can see is what I did was I cut a 4 by 3, and then I cut it in half so that they match. Not critical, but because this is a pattern that does match, I did want them to go together that way. And then this is a coordinating piece, and this is the 4 by 1 3/4. So a fair amount of cutting, die cutting, but not really too difficult to assemble. Okay, so let's start with our card, the movement part, and I'm going to start by folding and burnishing. So you're going to fold in, so it's like a Z fold, okay? Fold and then fold back. So I'm going to use my bone folder. I'm going to move this out of the way. So if you haven't taken a picture yet, go ahead and do that. Move that out of the way. So Z fold, back and forth, same thing here and there. So there's that piece, and of course it's going to be layered on here, but we're not going to do that just quite yet. So I'm going to set that aside, and let's do our stamping. I'm going to bring in the Stamparatus because I'm going to stamp the inside. So I'm using the Stamparatus because this particular stamp I didn't get it lined up perfectly with the label. So I just thought it would be easier. It's just easier to use my Stamparatus. So I'm going to just slip that all the way in the corner. Because this is a cling stamp, I don't have the pad under here. You know, if it was a photopolymer, I would need the little pad. But we're going to just use the Memento black ink that up. And of course, the wonderful thing about the Stamparatus is that you can try it a few different times. If it doesn't get a firm, yeah, I think I'm going to do just a little bit more because it's not really as dark as I would like, which is, of course, what I like. So when I lined this up, I should show you how I did that. Of course, I had this lined up because we did it for class. But I'm looking at, can you see there are lines in the Stamparatus, and I just am checking to see that those lines line up with the word, and then I check it. And as you can see here, I had to keep adjusting it. So, you know, I started here, it was a little bit off. I didn't quite like that one. Then I did that one. Oh, that wasn't quite right. I tried 2 here, so I finally got it where I wanted it. But, you know, it's worth it to do that ahead of time. It just, you know, if it's important to you to get a really straight stamp image. Now, you know, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I feel like perfection's a little overrated. So it's not always that important for everything to be perfect. So don't be, you know, don't feel too bad if it's not exactly perfect. So now I'm going to take, this is the little flower stamp that comes in the stamp set, and I'm going to just do a little one up there. Let's see, and maybe a little one down here, and here, and there. Okay, so that's the inside, and while I've got this stamp out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the envelope. And I think I'll echo the same thing. Repeat that down here. Still gives me plenty of room to address the card. There we go. Okay, so that's that. And as you know, as I told you, I've already stamped these flowers and this, but I do have some other stamping to do. So we will do some stamping and die cutting. So done with the, oh no, I do have my sentiment. So while I've got the black ink out, the Memento black, I'm gonna go ahead and do this up here. And then I'm gonna use the, let's see, what's the name of that die? It's the Stylish Shapes dies. It's one of the Stylish Shapes dies that I'm gonna use to cut out the sentiment. But the sentiment itself does come from that, the stamp set. The Hello Harvest stamp set. All right, so that is all the stamping with the black. But now I'm gonna bring in my other colors. I'm gonna start with the, let's see, let's go light to dark. Start with the Daffodil Delight. And this time I'm bringing in the leaf. And I will need to make sure to cut, to clean these in between because I don't, you know, I want to make sure these colors are cleaned. So there's one, and then we are going to die cut these. So I'm cleaning in between. I am using my chamois to clean. Let's close up the Daffodil Delight. The next one is Crushed Curry. And Crushed Curry's just got a little more greenish tint to it. That'll fit right there. So you can see, oh, I must have had something on my, oh, that was probably picked up from my stamp pad. That's okay. You know what? Leaves aren't perfect either. I'm not going to worry about it. And then the last one is the Merry Murgo, which is a fun fall color. And I think it coordinates well with the Cajun Craze. All right. So this, you know, this could be a birthday card. It could certainly be a Thanksgiving card. It could just be a just because card. A thank you. Lots of things you can do with this. All right, so that's set aside, that's set aside. Let's do our coloring. Got a little ink there, or a little glue. All right, so for our coloring, for the little flowers, what I did was I actually colored the inside of the flower with the light. This is the light old olive, and you can use whatever kind of greenish color that you have. I mean, actually, you can use whatever color you want. You can use the Stampin' Write markers for this if you don't have the blends, because these, there's not really any blending. I'm just coloring in that. Let's see, and then I'm going to use the dark Stampin' Blend. This is the Daffodil Delight. You see how there's a thin edge and a thick edge. I'm going to start with the thin edge, and I'm really just running around the circle of where the green is. And I'm kind of just want to get a deeper color all around there because I'm going to blend that out with the lighter colors. I'm using the shading that Stampin' Up is giving us with those lines. Oh no, I want to use the thin end. It's such a small space to color that's why I want to use the thin end. And I'm going over the dark colors that I've already done. I've got, you know, the Daffodil Delight, the dark, and I'm going right over the dark and then bringing that out. I don't know if you can see that, bringing that out to the edges so that there's not like a distinct line there between the dark and the light. It's not something that's probably going to be too evident unless you're looking at it up close. So if you're giving this to a friend that knows card making and is an artist and understands, you know, that there's extra time and effort involved, they'll notice. But I would say that your average person is just going to look at that and say, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. How on earth did you do that? Either way, it's really easy, so it's easy to do. You don't need to do this blending part. You could certainly just use one color all the way throughout. And as I said, it'll be just as beautiful. But I thought it was kind of fun to do a little bit of blending on those flowers. I did not do any coloring on the inside or on the envelope, but you certainly could do that. But I chose not to do that. Okay, so now the pumpkin. This one's a little more involved. I'm going to start with, I think I'm going to to start with the dark Mossy Meadow. This one's Mossy Meadow, or light, oh, excuse me. So I've got two different colors here, light Old Olive and light Mossy Meadow. You could use the light and dark of both of them. It doesn't really matter, whichever color you have or you want. This is the light Mossy Meadow. I'm gonna do a little bit, it's a little dark for me. So I'm gonna come in and then go over that with the lighter color. So it just gives it a little bit of a, kind of a modeled look. That's easy, right? No big deal there. So now this is where we get into doing some more shading. So I'm going to use my dark and light Pumpkin Pie and my dark and light Daffodil Delight. And let's see, I'm looking for my glasses. Here we go. Just a little bit easier for me to see with my glasses. All right. So I'm using a pad under here because you see the colors do go through and I don't want to get it on my mat here. I'm going to start, I personally like to always start with the darkest color. I'm going to go with the thicker end and I'm going to just go over the shading that Stampin' Up! Has given me. Okay, those lines right there. Just going to start there, not worrying about being too precise. I am trying to kind of stay in the lines, although this is going to be die cut, so not too big of a deal, but I do want to keep it kind of neat. So see how I'm just going over the dark lines and along the bottom and kind of just, it's like a paint. You have to be really gentle with these markers or else the tips do get all damaged. It's like painting. It's not like coloring with a marker that you would think like a regular magic marker. Okay, this really lightly just painting. All right, so I did the outside there. So that's the dark. Now I'm bringing in the light Pumpkin Pie. I'm also going to use the brush tip on this one. And just as I did here, I'm going over the dark. I am going over the dark and then kind of see how I'm kind of blending those colors. But you want to make sure you go over the dark as well. So you're pulling the dark color of the ink into the rest of the pumpkin. So again, going over the dark. I think you can, yes, you can see this. And I want to kind of blur that line between the two colors so that it's really subtle and a nice blend. Kind of gives it a little bit of a watercolor wash feel. So going over, see there's kind of a line there. I don't want to see that. So coming back over. Okay, so now, you know, when you're painting or when you're coloring, you want to think about the way the light kind of shines on an object. And typically it's shinier in the front. You know, this is the part of the pumpkin. If you think of it as a 3D, this is a little bit closer to you. So my goal is to start dark and get lighter and lighter and lighter as we go closer. So again, I'm going over the orange again and bringing it and adding it more to, bringing in more of the lighter color, right? So going over the pumpkin pie, bringing in that color into the middle of the pumpkin. And I'm actually leaving a little bit of white in the middle there. Bringing that over to get some color. And then I'm gonna go over with the lightest color. This is the Daffodil Delight. This is my lightest color. Go ahead and go over the other colors again and bringing that color in to the middle, getting a little bit in the other colors. And now I'm really trying to kind of get a graded effect, a graduated effect. So see, I only went like one layer over the center, and now I'm kind of going over the outside layers to kind of give it that effect. Can you see that? So you've got, it really looks like there's light shining on these lighter areas. And if you find that it's too dark, you can come in with the blender, or with the, not the blender pen, the eraser, what the heck is that called? Let's see. This is the color lifter. That's it. So you can come in with the color lifter, and even if you want it to be a little bit lighter, I'm going to come in with the color lifter and just kind of create some highlights. Like I could create a few little highlights up here, so it's a little bit lighter. I don't want to go over the black memento. It resists it, but I don't want it to go too much. But see how I can kind of create a few little highlights there? If I find, especially if you find that, oh, you know, I went a little bit too dark in some areas. So you could go over with the color lifter and even brighten it up a little bit more. There we go. All right, that's your coloring lesson for the day. Hope that that was helpful for you. And now we're gonna just die cut these out and assemble the card. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I will bring in my, die cutting machine. All right, get this. And here we go. So I've got all my layers. Let's see if you can see that. And I'm gonna have to go through a couple of times, take a couple of passes, but I can do multiples at once. So I'm gonna line up my pumpkin first, and I am gonna use a little bit of tape to hold it together. Since I'm doing multiple dies, I'm gonna just use this actually is from scrapbook.com. It's their mint tape, they call it. Let's do this one first. And it just will help the dies stay straight as they move through. That way I don't have to like look at, since there's multiple dies, it's kind of hard to make sure that I've got, oh, am I paying attention to all of them? If one of them moves and I don't see it. So that just helps. And then, so lining this up can be a little bit tricky. Yep, that didn't quite work. This deeper V, I'm looking here. See, that's the deeper V. If you look at that, that is going to go to the bottom. And of course, it really depends which way you stamped your flowers. But for me, the flowers are a little flatter on the top and a little bit deeper on the bottom. So that's how I line them up. All right, and then we put our top plate on and run that through. Okay, I probably should have done this ahead of time to save us some time, but oh well, not to worry. Let's see here. I did actually do the hello, so I'm not gonna repeat that one. Let's line this one up. I mean, I'm not gonna die cut that because I actually have one that I've already die cut. So save us a little bit of time. There we go. Line up my little flower, run that through. And the last one, here we go. So I am filming this right the week before Halloween. Have you got Halloween plans? I do not. You know, my kids are all grown. I don't have any grandkids yet. So and we live in a community where there are not a lot of kids, or just not a lot of trick-or-treaters. We're just too far apart from each other to make it reasonable to trick-or-treat. So we aren't really going to be doing any trick-or-treating this year. We do have a neighborhood party that's going to be on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to that. But we don't really do too much trick-or-treat these days. If you do trick-or-treat, let me know. Let me know what you're doing. If you're dressing up, if you've got a Halloween party, you're dressing up. What's your costume going to be this year? All right, I'm going to just give you a little bit of I've already die cut the gingham. This piece with the gingham folder. Just a little quick tip. This is a regular, it's not a 3D folder. So, you know, you start with just the first plate, and of course it tells you here embossing folders hinge first. This is a standard embossing folder. So just need that first plate and then two of your number 2 or number 3 plates. That one, and then you put this one in. And then the only other thing I will tell you is I did kind of, because it's got a distinct pattern of lines, I did want them to be straight. So I lined it up with this dark mark on the bottom. Now you could have some fun with that, right? You could, I don't think it'll fit too crooked, but you could go off kilter and that would be a fun look too. But if you want to line it up, it is nice to use this line down here to line it up, and then you just put it in and put the other plate in and run it through the embossing folder. So that's your little tip there. All right, now the thing you've been waiting for is assembling the card. Okay, I like to use liquid glue. That is my glue of choice. I'm gonna start with this piece is gonna go here. I'm gonna lay it all out. These two are gonna come here. This is the inside of my card, and that is gonna go there. So let's put that together first. I will tell you that I have already die cut some other little pieces that are gonna go on the front. I'll show you those pieces when I assemble the pumpkin. I was trying to save a little bit of time. But, you know, so if you, when we get to that point, don't be surprised that I've already die cut a few pieces. All right, there, whoops. And I'm just lining these up so they're kind of equally, equidistant between the folds. Yeah. There we go. So if you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like to purchase any of the items that you see here today, I would love to help you unleash your inner creativity. It's one of the most fun things about my job is I get to help people who think, oh, I have no creativity. I could never do that. You will be surprised. You have way more creativity than you think, and you know what? Stampin' Up! Makes it easy. That's really the bottom line. Okay, so this is the base of the card. So I'm gonna put these two pieces, you can see how I'm just gonna line them up equidistant on the right and left side. A little bit of glue there. I do hold classes in my home. If you're in the Greensboro, Georgia area, and would love for you to join us. Occasionally I'll do a created home card kit, and I generally advertise that on my newsletter. So if that's something you're interested in, you should sign up for my newsletter. You can get that information. You can find my newsletter link on my description. I would love for you to join the newsletter and get information about all these cards that I'm making, and I always have a tutorial of a card in each newsletter. I try not to inundate your inbox with a lot of letters, but a lot of emails, but about once a week at the most, I'll send an email. If there's something going on with Stampin' Up, then I'll let you know. Okay, so now, as you can see, I put this on the back, right? You can see where that is. It's the back of that piece there. And I'm gonna line it up in the center here, and it's gonna be the same height, top to bottom. So I'm gonna start, again, this is the beauty of the liquid glue. I'm starting it like that, and then I wanna stand it up because I want it to be able to stand. And I'm kind of looking to see, am I even? And then we'll go like that. There you go. Maybe over, could maybe pull it over a little bit, but I think I'll just leave it alone. Okay, it's more important that it's even here so that it stands up. All right, now we're gonna assemble the very front piece. So this is gonna go like this. So you do have to be a little careful. You see the orientation here? I want it to cover up that designer series paper on that side. So that's gonna be the correct orientation of this piece. But You know, so I'm going to put that, I'm going to put my embossed layer. Let's see, which side do I want? I think I'm going to put that side on. You know, it really doesn't make much of a difference, but you could use whichever side. And of course, you can use whatever embossing folder you have. It doesn't have to be this one. There, that leaf fall embossing folder is beautiful. That would be really fun. I just hadn't used the gingham folder yet, so I thought that that would be a fun one. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and attach this before I put the rest of the things on here. So if you watch this, so this is the way I want it to line up. Obviously, I only want glue on the left side so that it opens, right? I don't want to glue this side. So the way I do that is I turn this over, I line it up again, and then I know that I'm only going to put adhesive, whichever adhesive I'm using, I'm only going to put it on this side. I can see where that fold is, so I don't get too close. And then I flip it over again, close that, and then line it up. And again, this is why I like the liquid glue, especially for something like this. It does give me a little wiggle room, and I'm just watching so that I don't see that yellow Designer Series paper on that side. All right, now we get to play with assembling all of our pieces. So as I said, I had already previously cut that. I have previously cut these cute little vines. Aren't they just adorable? I am going to put the pumpkin on dimensionals. So I'm going to do that first so that I can use it to kind of line up the other pieces. But I'm only going to put the dimensionals in the middle for right now because I'm going to want these pieces to kind of tuck underneath, right? So this is going to be glued down. I'm going to line it all up. That one there, and then I'm gonna have that one kind of like that. Now, of course, you can go over, right? You just don't want to come down too low here because you want it to stand up. But it's okay if it goes on outside that way. So that's about where those are going to go. And then this is going to be on dimensionals as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put that piece on dimensionals. And as long as I don't put it over too far, that'll be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and attach that one because I know this is gonna be up in this corner and I know that the other pieces are it's not gonna interfere with these other pieces. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put my glue on this piece. Again, I'm gonna kind of set that there so that I know about where I want it. I'm gonna slip that under there. Now this piece is going to stick out a little bit, so I only want to put a little bit of liquid glue on this side of it, right? I want that to go about right there. And then this piece is also the bottom layer, and I'm going to just put a little bit of liquid glue there. And again, making sure it doesn't come below the card line there. All right, and then I'm going to bring in my little flowers. And let's see, this one's going to just go right on top. These two are on top, but one of them I want to go below. So I'm going to use a glue dot on this one. It'll give me a little bit of height, but not as much as the height from a Stampin' Dimensional. So I'm kind of just covering up that little seam where those two come together. All right, so now I can go ahead and attach my pumpkin, and I think I'm actually going to use a couple more dimensionals on the outside. So do you see why I waited to put those on? Because if I hadn't waited, then it might have been a little difficult to get those lined up. So now let's see, I think right about there. And I am going to put a little liquid glue right there, kind of on the top, because this is going to be kind of right there. And then I'm going to use a glue dot again on this one to give it a little bit of height above the other flower. I don't want these to be too thick because I do want to send this through the mail. Of course, if you're hand delivering it, it doesn't matter quite as much. And now I'm going to use these little vines, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on those little edges. Okay. This one, I think I'm kind of lining up the, actually, I think I want it this way. One more over here. I think I want it this way, so that you can see my flower. And then this one, I'm thinking like that. So I know where I'm holding my hand is where it's going to go over the edge of the pumpkin. So I don't want to put any glue there. So that's a good spot to hold it. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to just add a little bit of bling. These are the Leaf Label and Amber Gem Combo Pack. These are the gems from that combo pack. And you see they've got these little leaves. And I was going to incorporate the leaf, but I don't know. I felt like I had enough going on. So I just am going to use the gems. I'm going to actually, I think, use those leaves as little table placeholders for Thanksgiving. Looking forward to that. I've got family coming in. We're so excited. So I'm kind of starting to think about what I'm going to cook and what I'm going to serve and who's bringing what. Okay, so there you go. That's your card for today. I hope you liked it. If you stayed to the end, I appreciate it. If you give me a thumbs up. If you have a comment, that would be welcome as well. Your commenting and your thumbs up help other people to find me. And I do appreciate that. So I hope you like that. I hope that you try it on your own. It's really not difficult. And I think it's a really fun fold. So again, my name is Linda Edwards. I'm with Crafty here in Designs. And I thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.